Could the Miami Dolphins have changed the entire trajectory of their franchise with one simple decision back in 2021? Or are we witnessing the perfect example of why draft day trades rarely work out the way teams expect? The Blockbuster trade that sent All-Pro linebacker Micah Parsons from Dallas to Green Bay this week has a fascinating Miami connection that should have every Dolphins fan wondering what if. Let's dive into the timeline that led to one of the most impactful draft decisions in recent Dolphins history. Back in 2021, Miami found themselves sitting pretty at the 3rd overall pick, holding one of the most valuable assets in the entire NFL draft. What happened next was a series of moves that perfectly illustrates both the potential brilliance and inherent risks of aggressive draft day maneuvering. The Dolphins made what seemed like a brilliant move at the time, trading down from the 3rd overall pick to the 12th spot in a deal with the San Francisco 49ers. In exchange for dropping 9 positions, Miami received 2 additional first-round picks, essentially turning one premium selection into 3 first-round talents. On paper, this looked like the kind of savvy roster building that championship organizations execute, but here's where the story gets really interesting. Miami didn't stay put at 12th overall. Instead, they quickly flipped that pick to the Philadelphia Eagles, moving back up to the 6th overall selection in exchange for one of those extra first-round picks they had just acquired from San Francisco. Suddenly, their master plan had evolved from maximizing draft capital to targeting a specific player. That player was wide receiver Jalen Waddle, who the Dolphins selected 6th overall. Now, before we get into any criticism of Waddle, let's be clear, he's been an excellent NFL receiver and has contributed significantly to Miami's offensive success. However, the player who went 12th overall, with a pick that briefly belonged to Miami, was Micah Parsons. Parsons has become arguably the most dominant defensive player in the NFL since entering the league. His combination of pass rushing ability, coverage skills, and overall impact on winning has made him one of the most valuable non-quarterback players in professional football. The fact that he was just traded for the first-round picks and veteran defensive lineman Kenny Clark demonstrates exactly how highly the league values his contributions. The what-if scenarios become even more compelling when you consider Miami's needs at the time. The Dolphins desperately needed linebacker help and pass rush production, exactly the areas where Parsons has excelled throughout his career. Having him anchoring their defense over the past few seasons could have completely changed their trajectory as a franchise. But let's not stop there, because the draft analysis gets even more interesting. While Miami was celebrating the addition of Waddle, offensive tackle Penei Sewell went 7th overall to Detroit and has since established himself as one of the 3 best offensive linemen in the entire NFL. Given Miami's ongoing struggles with offensive line play, you have to wonder if Sewell might have been an even better choice than Waddle. The ripple effects of these draft decisions extend far beyond individual player evaluation. If Miami had stayed at 12th overall and selected Parsons, their entire defensive identity over the past few seasons would have been different. They might not have needed to invest so heavily in pass rush help through free agency and trades, allowing them to allocate resources to other areas of need. The historical context of Miami's willingness to trade multiple first-round picks adds another layer to this analysis. The Dolphins have done this before, most notably in 2002 when they acquired running back Ricky Williams from New Orleans in exchange for 2 first-round selections. Williams had an immediate impact, leading the NFL in rushing with a franchise record 1,853 yards in his first season with Miami. However, Williams' career with the Dolphins became a roller coaster of stops, starts, and suspensions that ultimately left fans wondering if the investment was worth it. This historical precedent might explain why Miami was more comfortable trading away the pick that became Parsons rather than using multiple first-rounders to acquire an established star. More recently, Miami's trade for Tyreek Hill provides another example of their willingness to give up significant draft capital for impact players. They sent Kansas City a first-round pick, second-round pick, to 4th-round picks, and a 6th-round pick for Hill, who has been arguably their most valuable player over the past 2 seasons. Unlike the Williams situation, the Hill trade has worked out exactly as Miami hoped. The Green Bay Packers' decision to trade the first-round picks for Parsons demonstrates their belief that they're in a championship window and need elite talent to maximize their chances. This is exactly the type of aggressive move that separating contenders make when they identify difference-making players. From Miami's perspective, Watching Parsons get traded for such a massive haul has to sting a little bit. They briefly held the draft capital that became one of the NFL's most dominant players, and through a series of moves designed to maximize their draft assets, they ended up passing on him entirely. The timing of Parsons' trade also highlights how quickly things can change in the NFL. Dallas went from building around him as a cornerstone piece to trading him for future assets, showing that even the most talented players aren't untouchable. When organizations decide to change direction, looking at Miami's current roster construction, you have to wonder how different things might be with Parsons anchoring their defense. Their pass rush has been inconsistent, their linebacker play has been a concern, and their overall defensive identity has struggled to find consistency. Parsons could have solved multiple problems with one draft selection. The broader lesson here might be about the inherent unpredictability of draft day trading. Miami's original plan to acquire multiple first-round picks was sound in theory, but the execution led them away from a generational talent who was sitting right there for the taking. The Eagles, meanwhile, ended up with Devonta Smith at 10th overall after trading up with Dallas, showing how one team's movement creates opportunities for others. The interconnected nature of these draft day moves means that Miami's decisions had consequences far beyond just their own roster. As we watch Parsons begin his career in Green Bay, Dolphins fans will undoubtedly continue wondering what might have been if their team had simply stayed put at 12th overall in 2021. Sometimes the best move is no move at all, especially when elite talent is sitting right there waiting to be selected. The success Miami has had with players like Hill and Waddle proves they can evaluate and develop talent effectively, but Parsons represents the type of generational defensive player who can single-handedly change a franchise's trajectory, and he was briefly within their grasp. What do you think about Miami's 2021 draft strategy? Should they have stayed at 12th overall and taken Parsons? Or was the move to get Waddle the right decision for their offensive needs? Share your thoughts in the comments below and hit that like button if you want more analysis of the moves that shape our Dolphins' future.